gluten-free art. Today I am going to show you how I made these cute little mini journals out of some old cards, book pages, and scrap pieces of paper. I hope you will enjoy this quick and easy project, and it's a really good way to get rid of all those leftovers. So let's get started. So what you're going to need in order to make these sort of mini journals are some book pages and some scrap paper, some PVA glue, and these little card blanks. I don't know what they're called exactly. They were given to me um, in a Happy Mail, and they're basically frames that you can use to make cards. Um, so I'm sorry, I don't know if anyone knows what they're called. Please let me know in the comments, and I will add it to the description because I have no clue what they are. Anyways, so in order to make these cards, I kind of used two different methods. One was by ripping up lots of pieces of of the of the book pages and then gluing them together to make a kind of patchwork effect. And the other way was to take a whole book page and cut it and use the entire thing to get a more seamless look. So I'm going to show you how I did both of them. The first one I'm going to show you is how to make the ripped and torn look, which you can see me doing here. It's really quite easy. You just open up the card all the way and begin ripping up pieces of your book page in whatever pattern you want, and you start sticking them on. Don't worry if you go over that hole in the frame, because we're going to be taking care of that in a bit and wrapping it around the edge. And actually, it looks even better if you do go over it a little bit, because it kind of creates a nice border. Once you've glued everything onto the front cover, you're going to want to repeat the process on the back cover. Just make sure that you're gluing it on the right bit, because there is that front flap that will become the back of the front cover. So just make sure that you're gluing all your back papers in the right spot so that you don't end up with a surprise at the end. So once you've finished gluing everything together, all you have to do is set it aside to dry, preferably under a weight so that it dries flat and that the paper doesn't bow too much. If you want a faster, more seamless way of covering your little journal cover, this is the idea that you can follow. So this is basically using a full page, from a full book page basically, to cover both the front and the back. The technique is more or less the same, somewhat a little bit different, in the sense that you're gluing down an entire page. So what you want to do is first put down your glue, and then you're going to carefully stick on the book page that you want, in the position that you want it. Press it down really, really well and set it aside to dry. And then you're going to do the same thing, obviously, on the back part. And again, make sure it's all nice and dry, and press it if you can to avoid bending of the paper. And then we're going to come back and do the next step, which is more or less the same for both kinds of methods. Once everything is dry, it took about half an hour or so for me. It's time to do some trimming and some folding. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and this method is more or less the same for both of them, so both systems, you're going to be following the same thing now anyway. So yeah, you're just going to want to trim the edges, any overlap that's from the glued book pages on the front and back cover. And then the next thing that you're going to want to do with that is then to reopen the frame in the middle. And so how you do that is quite simple. It's more or less the same for both of them. You're going to want to take a box cutter or a craft knife of some kind and cut an X on the back side of the frame bit. You want to go close to the edges of the corners, but not quite so close that you reach all the way. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to fold those cut bits over the edge of the frame and glue them around the back. This way you make a nice little edge that is clean and crisp for the frame for both the whole book page and the torn version. So next we're going to work on the focal point. This is a good time if you want to ink around the frame, because once you've put the focal point in, it's a bit hard to do. Now you can choose what you want to use as your focal point in your frame. I've chosen some botanical illustrations which came from the same book where I got the book pages for this project. You can use stickers, you can use wallpaper, you can use postcards, you can use, I don't know, real plants if you want. It's up to you, as long as it fits in the frame. So in my case, I'm using these botanical pages. I did was first I ran the frame over them to make sure it looked well and good, and then I cut around the part of the picture I wanted to use, leaving quite a bit of excess space because I'm going to be gluing this to the back of my card, and I want to make sure that it has something to stick on. So here I just use a glue stick because then I will be going over the whole thing with PVA again to glue the back part together to create the other half of the cover. You don't have to glue the whole thing together. You could just glue some sides and do a sliding in image that you can change out. I mean, you can take it and make it however works best for you and your project and your style. But basically, once you've glued the back and you set it all aside again to dry, you've got your front and back cover all done and ready for the next step. So now I've got this cover done, I'm going to set it aside and I'm going to basically repeat the exact same process with the other book cover that I made using the whole pages. And then we will be ready for the next step, which is doing the inside covers and adding the signature. After adding my picture, I decided that it needed a little bit something extra. So before folding over and gluing the back part, I just quickly ran it through my sewing machine and did a bit of a messy stitch kind of border around it. I just felt that without all the texture from the ripped up pages, it was kind of missing something. But obviously, this is totally optional. However, if you do decide to do any stitching on your cover, do it before you glue back the front cover, because then, you're going to ruin the back of it for when you put in your decorative papers. At this point, I decided that the edges of the covers also needed a little bit of inking, so I got my Distress Oxide, I think it was ground espresso color. I just ran that around the edges and around the spine to add a little bit more grunginess and aged look to the covers. And the next step I did was to start putting in the inside covers. Here, obviously, it depends on your own personal choice. I decided to go with the whole full book page look. You can use pieces of scrap paper, you can use decorative papers, you can do whatever you want with it. I chose to just go full on book. And all you need to do is take the full pages of your book page, glue them on, and then if you want to do what I did, which was add a pocket, you can also do that by measuring and cutting an offcut of your book page so that it would fit, and folding in the edges a little bit so that there is some space between the actual pocket and the cover, in order to be able to actually put stuff in it. Once you have it all glued down, so your full book pages and once you have your full book pages glued down, then you can just add your pocket on top and set it aside to dry while you prepare your papers for your signatures. I also wanted to hop on real quick and just say that I did let the two inside cover papers overlap a bit more on the spine in order to help strengthen it and reduce tearing for when I'm sewing in the signatures. So here I've selected the papers that I want to put into my little mini booklets. I think there's 10 different pages, so you've got a 20-page booklet. You can choose as many or however many you like, but I would stick to a single signature in this case. This is just a combination of scraps from paste paper book pages, napkin, greaseproof paper, just off, roll off pages from when I'm doing paste papers and all that kind of stuff. So just, yeah, anything really. So once you've selected your papers, it's time to cut them down to size to make sure that they will fit inside your booklet. Here I just basically marked them and used my ruler and my box cutter to cut them to the right size for each cover. And once you've got all of that done, it is time to sew them in. The final step is to sew in your papers. I chose to use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch in mine. You could use a decorative chain stitch. You could use whatever you prefer, but the 3-hole pamphlet stitch is pretty fast. It's easy, and you can add extra bits to the strings as dangles, as decorative things, so you can make it a bit more interesting. Um, so, yeah, do it how you prefer. This is just a guideline, an idea for you, and that will hopefully inspire you to try and make your own. And here they are all finished and decorated. I added some little tags and bits that I put into the front pockets using some of the scraps. And here's just a quick flip through of the two that we made on screen and the other two that I made as prototypes the first time. Because I had 4 of these little card blanks to use up, and so I decided that I would just make them all at once. So these are great to add to like Happy Mail or to sell as little quick little books at the markets if you go to markets and all that kind of stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this little mini tutorial and that it's given you some ideas and inspiration. And if you do enjoy my content, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything new when it comes out. Let me know what you think about these little creations in the comments below, and if you have any questions. In the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day, and I want to wish you all some happy creating. Bye bye.